How to Train Your Dragon. Currently, one of the most talked about franchises out there right now, with lovable characters like these, adorable dragon characters like these, and a widely expansive world, with an upcoming live-action remake that is both controversial and blowing these movies up on the internet simultaneously. But more on that in another video. But specifically, what is it about this franchise that makes us keep coming back? Why, after over 15 years since the first movie came out, does it still have a solid, loyal fan base? And why does it keep entertaining us, whether it be another full-length movie, TV series, or live-action movie? Good question. Let's talk about it. Arguably, one of the things that keeps almost any story going is its characters. Its characters and their flaws, strengths, and desires is what keeps them moving throughout the various stories. And that's what makes us relate to any story, regardless of the plot. And How to Train Your Dragon is the perfect example of how this can be done really, really well, going on for a very long time without it getting boring or even feeling like it's being dragged out. The first movie does a great job setting up a vast cast of characters with their own quirky personalities, skill sets, desires, and flaws. They also leaned into commonly known tropes, but didn't rely on them too heavily so that the characters felt two-dimensional. Hiccup fills your classic underdog hero who ends up saving the day, with that healthy dose of kid who always gets bullied in school. Snotlout is basically the school bully, which is kind of hilarious given that he's the shortest character of the whole crew, but I'm sure that was intentional and part of the jokes related to his character. Fishlegs is the socially awkward nerd kid, and the twins are the twins. And Astrid is a mixture of the classic strong female character mixed with uninterested love interest. Personally, I actually think Astrid is both the best example of a strong female character, while also not actually being a strong female character. But more on that in another video. And while some of the characters may have small similarities across various levels, the writers did a great job making each of them feel like their own person. For example, both Hiccup and Fishlegs have an impressive knowledge of dragons, but Fishlegs tends to be more book smart and related to the dragons and his knowledge of them, and he's basically made that his whole personality, whereas Hiccup studies the dragons on a more practical level, for how to work with them and how to train them. The characters each have their own unique designs that sets them apart and makes each of them interesting, which I think is especially cool as the series does allow their kid/young teen characters grow into older teens and then into adults. Very few film franchises have had the guts to do that, and on a standpoint of how they gave each character an upgrade with each new design as they got older, this franchise has absolutely nailed it. Because the films did such a great job creating characters that are so vibrant in their own right, and makes us as viewers smile and laugh along, or because of them, this is one of the biggest factors for why we keep coming back to How to Train Your Dragon again and again and again. The characters are what pull us into the franchise, from Hiccup's growth from an underdog to a hero, to a leader, and even ultimately a chief, to the growth from the supporting characters as well. Many others have touched on the fact that Astrid shows a lot of growth over the movies and in the series as well, especially noted in the way she's dressed and how she does her hair. How she goes from a hardened, more tied-back look to a softer, looser, more approachable style. It's the characters that we adore and keep coming back to, and because of their dynamics with one another, it makes it so interesting, and it's hard not to enjoy watching each of them interact with each other on various side quests, in the television series, and even in the full-length movies. On their own, each of these characters are iconic and lovable, and quite frankly, they carry the franchise. Another aspect of this series that keeps us watching and watching more from its franchise is the world building. On a surface level, the How to Train Your Dragon world is actually a fairly simple world. What if Vikings had dragons as their common enemies and pests? Which is a great, unique twist on the common dragon-slaying fantasy tropes, with the knight in his shining armor having to fight against the dragons. We can certainly thank the original books that inspired the first film of the franchise, written by Cressida Cowell. I know I'm butchering that name. You are welcome to correct me on the proper pronunciation. Vikings and dragons mashed together in the same story makes it easily memorable and intrigues first-time viewers. But if you peel back the layers of the world building a step further, you'll realize that while the world building itself is simple, it's also extremely complex in the form of the dragons, how they function with one another, and how the Vikings interact with the dragons. Especially as the series progresses. If you watch closely to this scene in the first film, you'll notice Fish Legs muttering a lot of facts about the dragons. What he's actually doing is reciting all the information related to the dragon's classes. Even in the opening scene, with Hiccup glossing over most of the common dragon varieties, it hints towards this classification system, and this is exactly where they went right on the world building. Giving the dragons a classification system is actually a genius way to not only give nerdy fans a way to geek out over these movies even further, like me, but also gives hints that there are other types of dragons that are as cool that live within this world. And this TV series do an excellent job of expanding on the dragon species, including discovering brand new varieties of dragons and taking viewers on a journey of exploration along with the characters. The classification system gives them both constraints through which to keep the dragons organized, and also allows them to further expand beyond the original dragons without it feeling like they're randomly forcing new species into the series. The characters' discoveries of the new dragons, such as the Screaming Death, which is an albino version of the Whispering Death, which was first introduced in Defenders of Berk, keeps the world from feeling so small or constrained and expands upon what was already built. We keep coming back because we want to explore more of this world and we want to see more of these dragons and how the characters react and interact within this fascinating world. They expand even further on this world from Defenders of Berk to Race of Edge, and then even further with the second and third movies, and even onward from the Nine Realms series, which I've actually not seen myself yet. Should I watch it? From a physical stance, Hiccup and the gang continue to keep exploring the islands and the world around Berk, so they prove time and time again that there are still more new lands and enemies that they can still find and learn to deal with, each in their own unique way. It's a mixture of both the characters and the world of How to Train Your Dragon that keep us wanting more, and coming back to it over and over, with a cast of fun characters who are each individually iconic and fun to watch, and an ever-expanding, fascinating world to satisfy even the nerdiest of dragon lovers. It's hard not to want to keep coming back to this world. The creators really knew what they were doing when they built on this franchise, and it shows. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to get more How to Train Your Dragon related content. Until next time!